Tommy's gonna taste the gin so that you don't have to. Let's just save your money, yeah, that's what Tommy wants. Minimal dilution, cause we wanna taste the gins. But if the gins are bad, then we will throw them in the bin. Now let's hand it over to Tommy, who is gonna taste. He's gonna get all rowdy and shout up the place.
Where my distillation dorks at? Hey, and welcome back to Tommy Tastes, where I taste the gin so that you don't have to. Let's taste!
Oh yeah, you know he tasty.
This week it's the turn of Edinburgh Gin, but not any Edinburgh Gin, no. The Edinburgh Seaside Gin. Ooh la la. Looks like we're taking a trip down the coast. And no, I'm not going to be doing any Scottish accents this week. I'm really sorry to upset you guys, but I need all the followers I can get, and generally speaking, I don't think a Scottish accent gets you very far. Also, can't do a good Scottish accent, so soz guys. I'm aware that I haven't already reviewed the Edinburgh Gin Classic Dry Gin. Let me give you a brief overview of it. It's good. It's not great, but it is very, very good. It somewhat loses its flavour when you dilute it, so my advice, just don't fucking bother. Drink it neat. That's what this channel's set up to do anyway, so here we go. No need for a review on it. Drink your Edinburgh Gin neat. But what should I do with the Seaside Gin? Now, eagle-eyed viewers amongst you there may already be able to see that we are kind of halfway through this bottle, and that's because it has taken half a bottle for me to decide whether I actually like this gin or not. So what makes Edinburgh Gin unique? Edinburgh Gin was founded in 2010 and basically just served to do like a bit of a Scottish twist on gin. Scottish gin. Now, might get a bit of hate for this, but I'm not sure if I particularly like Scottish gin. Now, I don't want to lump Scottish gin into a ballpark of this is the way that Scottish people produce gin, this is the way English people do, because there's a shit ton of shit English gin, shit German gin, shit American gin, but there's also some good ones in amongst that. Now, Edinburgh Gin is definitely one of the good ones. And also, in the same city, so is Pickering's. Not quite as easy to find, but an incredibly good gin. But there are ones that don't kind of work in Scotland, e.g. Daffy's Gin. What the fuck is Daffy's Gin? I need to retaste it, but it's so fucking bland. It blabbers on about how the mint is going to change your life, and all it made me do is change my life by not buying Daffy's Gin. Also, Rock Rose. This is a popular gin that you can find outside of Scotland, and it is intense and powerful, but it kind of tastes disgusting. Maybe it's just not to my personal taste, but I just don't like it. It's too hibiscusy and perfumed and just not very nice. The Seaside Gin is a particularly unique part of the Edinburgh Gin experience though. This was born out of a partnership that they had with the neighbouring Heriot-Watt University, which is one of the few universities in the UK where you can study distillation. What the students of that university did, in conjunction with Edinburgh Gin, was go to the local seaside near Edinburgh and forage their own botanicals. So you've got 6 kind of traditional botanicals, and in conjunction with those 6 relatively ununique botanicals, you have 3 incredibly unique botanicals. Some bladderwrack seaweed, don't really know what the species of seaweed adds to it, but a seaweed nonetheless, ground ivy, and then finally scurvy grass. And scurvy grass, true to its name, was something that sailors used to eat in order to get rid of the vitamin C deficiencies and stop their gums from bleeding. Sounds delicious. But what does it do in the gin? Well, maybe we'll find out more when we actually taste it.
I actually forgot to mention that I do know someone who contracted scurvy whilst at university due to a poor diet, and it's no laughing matter. If you want to help end world scurvy, then please feel free to donate to my channel. Now, please donate now.
Here I have my wonderful 2cl measure of some Seaside Gin. Let's get our nose in there and have a good whiff.
Getting her nice and deep like, boy.
This is a really delicate gin. You really have to get your nose in there and give it a good smell. Without meaning to sound like an absolute twat, which I am, it kind of smells like the sea air. But it does. I feel like I'm at the seaside on a cold day, maybe going to get fish and chips and having to fight off some fucking seagulls. That is exactly how it smells. There are like salty notes in there, like really kind of minerally notes, but there's something kind of sweet at its core and a little citrusy still. And it smells really good, but it does smell incredibly different to pretty much any other gin you can think of. I think what we're working here, to use a really wanky wine term, is a terroir gin. Now, terroir basically means the environment that it grows in is represented in the product, in the same way that you call like an Aberdeen Angus cow Aberdeen Angus, or certain types of wine like Barolo, for example, is really noted for it mirroring the area it comes from. Fucking boring. Anyway, this is really representative of that area that it comes from. Let's taste!
And if you were interested, then the perfect complement for any terroir gin is pink lemonade.
First thing to say is this gin's certainly not going to be for everybody. If you are someone who enjoys flavoured gins or gins that are really citrusy, really fruity, this just might not be your gin. Cuppa gin. For people who maybe like things a little more minerally and salty, this is exactly what you want in your life. It is really saline, I can't say that enough, but it is sweet and it's certainly spicy as well. Everything that was there on the nose is certainly coming through on the palate, but it's not like I've swallowed seawater or anything like that. It's just really pleasant and really kind of nostalgic for the seaside. And I sound like an absolute now. Let's get some ice in there.
Yes, well, I can definitely feel those classic notes of pretension really coming through on the palate.
I think this gin works so well on ice. It's way more sweet. Some of the slightly spicier notes have kind of mellowed out and are working with a nice salinity, and it's just such a round and complete flavour. It's not like I can isolate the botanicals, but all of the botanicals come together so well to create this thing that's just better than the sum of their parts. And there's nothing kind of leading the way in what is the flavour of the gin and what is, you know, just muddled in the background. It's such a nice product. And this is kind of what makes me think that as we dilute it, it might be better for those people that maybe would be more willing to come over from the slightly more flavoured and fruity gins to more of a terroir gin. So let's dilute it, see how that stands up to dilution.
Just a thought, if I drink this gin, does it mean that I won't get scurvy?
So I like it diluted. I'm not in love with it diluted. It's still got those same nice saline flavours poking through, but it's not wonderful when you dilute it. It doesn't become generic or anything like that, but it's probably not going to keep you entertained for quite as long as, say, your average gin. And it's at times like this where possibly working with a garnish and they, for some unbeknownst reason, recommend thyme and orange that you garnish with this, which I think would just fuck the gin monumentally. I mean, you lose everything that's unique and complex about it. But as you dilute it, if you're really into dilution, then you know what, just fucking do it.
Boring.
So to conclude, Edinburgh Gin, the Seaside version, I really like this. It took me a long time to get to like it, but as with films, albums, drinks, food, often the first time you come to something you don't particularly like it, and it is important to keep trying. And that's certainly what you should do with Seaside Gin. I think it's rare that it's going to be a winner off the bat because it is so incredibly different to everything I've tried. But different in a good way, not different in a fucking Hoxton or Brockman's way where you just make blueberry Smirnoff or Malibu. This is unique, it is so characteristically gin, and it really represents the environment beautifully. So you know what, go out, buy it. One qualm, don't do it in a fucking cocktail. But what I am going to do is do a great advert for Edinburgh Gin, which is go on their tour. This is probably the best tour I have ever been on, with the possible exception of Norwich Dry Gin. But it's in this great place, centre of Edinburgh, in an old kind of basement that they've got there with this tiny little still set up, and you can get so much gin there for very cheap. And the distillers told me themselves they fucking hate having to do flavoured gins, but for every flavoured gin they do, it means you can do a fucking Seaside gin. So come on, Edinburgh, keep going, keep making great gins like this. If you have to buy the flavoured shitty gin as a present, then go ahead and do so, because it means that you get more quality product like this. God bless yous.
Hey, Rapper, let me hear you. Put your hands in the air like you just don't care. Yeah, like and subscribe. You like and subscribe. Here we go. Do you really like it? Do you really like it? We're liking and subscribing. We're liking and subscribing. Do you really like it? Is it wicked? Yes, it is. You should like and subscribe.